Hey everybody, this is a new thing I'm trying out. Got my buddy over here, Buttz,
Hello.
and we both finished Stellar Blade this week. And we just kind of kept talking about it as we were playing it, and we had so many similar thoughts, which is kind of rare because we don't really always agree on when it comes to video games. But
That's true.
we had so many like thoughts about the game that it was like I was gonna make a video on it anyways, and I'll probably kind of either parse out some of my thoughts from this and then clip it together, or just make a whole thing in general, just talking about it. Because I imagine this will go like more than 20 minutes, and I'm sure not everybody wants to sit there and listen to that. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about the game because it is a game.
This
it
one is definitely one of the games of all time.
yeah, there's like so many positives and negatives to it, and Shift Up, while not a brand new company, especially not in the mobile game space, they are new in that this is their first AAA release, with a publisher being PlayStation. All their previous games are mobile. They made Nikkei, which is known as the booty game that a lot of people play. I used to play that like very briefly, but I did play it for the plot, surprisingly, because the story is actually pretty interesting, and that's kind of
Super good.
why, huh?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. The story is pretty interesting. That's kind of why I was so interested in this game because, like, I mean, it already just looks cool. Like those trailers for the game look so cool, and I was like, dude, this is going to be. If they nail this, this may be it. And one of the things that I always say when it comes to these like gotcha developers, especially like MiHoYo, dude, they have such incredible talent when it comes to art design and combat and stuff. Like, dude, I'm sure I'll get shit for this, but I maintain to this day I don't really play Genshin anymore. But Genshin Impact has some of the best. I mean, once you like level up your characters and stuff, and like really understand the systems, Genshin Impact has some of the best combat I've ever played in an RPG. Like, it is so fun, especially when you start really getting your stats up. You can just shred enemies just so quickly, and it's just a shame because I think I look at MiHoYo and they're about to release Zenless Zone Zero, and I
I
don't
have some
see.
thoughts about that one.
Yeah, well, it has this beautiful animation and art style, but it's like
Yeah.
I keep hearing that game is ass. Like I hear it's boring. That you jump through TVs, you don't really do shit until like the combat starts, and then that's cool. But it's like I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be the worst of MiHoYo's new games, and it sounds like they know too because I heard that they are like when you play the game for the first time, they're giving you like 100 free 10 pulls, which is insane. But
Oh, you know what? That's what the asterisk, by the way.
oh really?
Because I
What
saw
is
that
the
myself.
asterisk?
It just says, like, you get that by simply just playing the game. It's not like you log in, you get all automatically 100 free pulls. It's
Oh,
mostly like,
this is exactly what I'm talking about,
oh.
dude. Fuck that.
It's with the asterisk, so it's not like a true like advertised what you think free pulls. You have to actually earn it anyways. Which yeah,
What you're gonna do anyway?
that was a
Yeah,
gotcha moment.
that's so lame. But
Yeah, exactly.
anyway,
What you gonna do anyway?
yeah. Well, all I was gonna say was I really do wish more gotcha developers would get away from that. And I know it makes them so much money, but making like just an actual, it doesn't even have to be AAA. Just making like a actual single player like one time purchase experience. I think they could make such
Yeah,
cool things. Like especially a lot of gotcha games are in Korea, Japan, China, and like dude, just they have a unique perspective. Like just make something new. Like it would be cool. But anyway, we're here to talk about Stellar Blade. So what are your general thoughts on the game?
Uh, well, my thoughts is that it is an extremely like 6 to 7 out of 10 game. Like, there's so much that, well, it's crazy. After like writing down my list of my likes and dislikes, there isn't that many likes. Uh, there isn't that many likes that I like about it. But the thing is that the stuff that I like, I really like. I feel like it has potential to be like if they were to like do a sequel, it could like really expand upon like like I think they have like a good foundation.
Hmm.
Like with the combat, I think the combat is pretty fun. The enemy designs are really like super interesting and stuff,
Yeah.
and the music is really cool. Like love the variety of the music, and but even again, like this is such a mixed game for me because even though I think the best part of the game is the combat, it's still with it like an asterisk. I don't think that the combat in the game with the mobs is like fun at all. It's just kind of like whatever, and it mostly shines in the boss fights.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's kind of weird because the boss fights, I don't really feel like there was enough of them. Um, like first, like two of the boss fights being like just straight up, you just simply shoot at them, and it was kind
Yeah.
of, and it was, the second time you fight that boss. First off, it's the same boss,
Yeah.
so whenever you fight it the second time, it doesn't even really feel any different. And this is like the second time you fight it is like kind of somewhat in the late game. Is Yeah, the combat is the best part, but I still feel like it's not quite there, and it has potential to be like really good, but it's not quite there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think like, well, first off, I mean, you said 6 to 7. That oof, six. I don't know. I think that the game. Um, I like the game. I like Stellar Blade. I think that like it excels in some very specific places, and it poorly performs in some others. Like I think the
Mm-hmm.
gameplay is by the end of the game. I think the gameplay is actually very good. Like
Yes.
probably especially like with some of the later bosses,
Yes.
specifically Raven. Like that right there is like the best boss in the entire game, and it's like not
Oh
even
yeah.
close. If I don't know if you played Devil May Cry 5 or not, but it is lit. It's
Uh,
like, have you?
it felt very Virgil-esque,
Yeah, exactly. It's
where it's
literally
like
just like virtual.
yeah, where it's just like this opposite character like has this like same or similar move sets.
Yeah,
I mean, Raven had the whole like the shattered glass thing too. So it's
yeah,
like it was really cool.
yeah. So it's I think it excels in when it comes to gameplay, the music. Obviously the graphics in that game are like really good, especially the character models look ridiculously good. Um, I think some
Yeah,
of
I have something
the
to say about
oh okay, we'll get there.
that.
Um,
Okay.
I think that the lore for the game is also very interesting. However, I think the story for the game is very bad, and like we'll get to that as well. But yeah, let's since you kind of were going into it earlier, let's talk about the combat. What are some of your more intricate thoughts on that?
I like I mentioned, it really excels with the boss fights, even though it's very like parry centric and
Yeah,
such. I it's it's just very satisfying with whenever you like land like a full combo and then you end it off with like a special move, or if whenever you're like, for example, with the Raven fight, like if you like parry it, correctly, and or actually no, let me take a step back. Whenever you do one of the parries and like she has the whole blue, the little blue like
the blue aura.
prompt thing, yeah, the
Yeah,
blue aura thing. Like I love stuff like that where it's just like it's not just like oh just straight parry it, that's it, but it's more of like you actually have to think. Like
yeah,
there'll be moments where she'll do like two hits, but then there'll be moments, and it's kind of subtle, but whenever you're doing the boss fight, you'll notice it where she would do like her typical attack string, but if you pay attention, you would know that she secretly snuck in like a
Another
red
move.
aura. Yeah, another move into it. So you actually still have, so like you actually have to still think about what she's doing whenever you're fighting, and it's not just autopilot being like, okay, she's doing this attack string, I know what to do next. I mean, to be honest, eventually you kind of get there whenever you fight her over and over again,
Yeah.
but it's always just interesting because of like that one moment where she's like, doing her typical attack string, and then she decides to switch it up. You just still have to like, you can't like just start wailing on her because you don't know if she's gonna do like the blue aura thing. Actually, even then with the blue aura thing, she'll sometimes do it twice instead of once,
Yeah.
and
So you
that's
can't overcommit on
I
the
love
first
stuff
one.
like that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
boss in
exactly.
and of
Yeah.
itself is like we could go on and on about that Raven boss because like one of the things that it took me a long time to realize is that like one of her strings you're supposed to parry and then dodge and then parry the last one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's
Yes.
so many things and then there's just some moves that she just doesn't do sometimes. It's like the percentage of times she'll do like I don't remember what it is, but she has a specific move that she rarely does, and it'll like sometimes when I was fighting her, she
Is it
didn't
the
do
laugh?
it, huh?
Is it like whenever she does the laugh?
I think so. Well, I think that's like a when she does that, it's like a parry that she does. I think that may be it. Um, but yeah, I mean, she has like a lot of moves and a lot of intricacies to her. But I guess to refocus on the gameplay itself, I think when I was playing this, uh, I struggled a lot in the early game. Not necessarily because it
Mm-hmm.
was difficult, but more so just because this game has like a pseudo Dark Souls thing going on where
Yeah.
and we're gonna I mean get to it more. I think this game just has like a really bad identity crisis. And not just the story but also the gameplay. So like this game is part Dark Souls, part Nier Automata, part character action like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to pay attention and kind of watch your enemies' movements and stuff like that, and parry and dodge, etc. But also, it has this fast pace where you're supposed to be doing these auto combos and mixing them up, and like you have different combo routes where you can mix up your heavy and light attacks, and then if you get an upgrade later on, you can like hold the last heavy attack and it'll like do a stronger version of it. And then you also have your beta skills and your burst skills and stuff like that. So you're supposed to be kind of constantly parrying and dodging so that you can build up your beta and burst meter. It is called burst, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
burst, yeah. You're supposed to be building those up so
Yes.
that you can do stronger attacks and do more damage. But in early game, you don't have access to most of that. So you're kind of playing this game. You either recognize what they're trying to do and you play this kind of like very slowly, like a Dark Souls game, or you don't really fully recognize what they're trying to do, and you just kind of mash square until you just get knocked the fuck out. And it's like,
Yeah.
or I kind of struggled with that, especially in some of the open world segments, which we'll also get to later. Like I would kind of be fighting, and then I'd find myself getting my ass beat, and I'm like, dude, what am I really doing wrong? Like I'm parrying, but also I'm trying to do these flashy combos that they want me to do, but it's like I'm not supposed to do that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Definitely. I get that. 100%.
And kind of the structure of the way that the world is, it's like it's not like Dark Souls in that you have a currency that you lose when you die and you have to regain it. It's more forgiving than that. But you have, you make your way through a level. You have your flask, but in this game it's like a tumbler. And then you basically make your way over to these like little chill out stations, and then that's where you save, and it regenerates your tumbler. But then it also resets like the world, so more enemies spawn again. And so it kind of was like really frustrating in some of the early parts of the game where I was like, dude, I'm trying to look at cool as fuck while I'm playing this game, but they do not want me to. And especially during the bosses, I would just like chill out and just dodge, parry, and then start wailing on them a little bit, then back away again. So yeah, I think this is one of those games where early in the game it's kind of rough, but as you play more of it and you start unlocking more of the skill trees, you get Taki mode, and then you get your burst skills. The more you play the game, the more powerful you start to feel, and the more it starts to really get rewarding. When you start pulling off those parries, you start doing your blue or pink dodges, and then you just start really tearing up the enemy. Though I would
Yeah.
say that I do think even at the end of the game, I think Taki mode is like super underpowered. Like it's good because you basically don't take damage when you're in there. It's like a devil trigger, I guess, but worse.
Yeah.
It's like you don't take any damage, but she doesn't really do that much damage either. Like she'll do damage to the shields, but that's really it. Like you're definitely getting your ass beat, or I mean you can still definitely get your ass beat after that's over. Like it doesn't really. It's not the game changer that I feel like it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Talking mode is interesting. I feel like it's whenever like you enter, it's just it's. I understand it's supposed to be kind of overpowered, but it still feels like another thing where it isn't fully fleshed out. Like you're just kind of button mashing, which I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of get, but I feel like they could have did something more with it instead of it just being like, all right, button mash, hold down the L1 button and just click buttons, go crazy.
Yes. I found myself
And
doing the same thing too, like, because you get unlimited beta skills. So I was just like, okay,
yeah,
there's no reason to not just mash my beta skills. And I have a friend who told me, like, eventually, or he said that he found some YouTube video where people were, like, doing combo resets and stuff like that. And I was like, sure, okay, bro, like, maybe that happens. But there's, like, almost no reason to do that when you can just mash your stronger move and just do damage.
and the worst part is that like there isn't really like I mean I haven't noticed it myself whenever I enter talkie mode, but is there even really a damage difference? Like like what why shouldn't I use the shortest move compared to the longest move if they're both going to do about the same amount of damage? So
Uh,
you can just be like, all right, I'm gonna just keep holding the L1 button and clicking triangle over and over again because it's the quickest one. That's still about the same amount of damage. Yeah,
that's a good question. I honestly don't know. I really don't know if there's a difference. Like this could just be a massive scrub moment, and we both sound like complete idiots. But I swear, like playing that game, like it does not feel like Taki mode does any. Like it does maybe 15% more damage, maybe, and like the burst skills don't feel. Honestly, they don't feel as strong as normal burst skills. To be honest,
yeah,
like,
yeah. To be honest with you,
like the difference between your normal attack and then your Taki mode burst attack, or I'm calling it burst, but it was the beta attack. Doesn't feel as strong compared to like your normal Eve combo and then your beta attack. Like, I don't know. I think they just wanted it to be more balanced because it is supposed to be somewhat Dark Souls and that everything's supposed to be hard. But like, why put it in there if you were going to do that? I don't know. I mean, having the invincibility is nice, but I don't know. It doesn't. It doesn't. The combat is supposed to be like really methodical and like trigger happy. I guess I'm using the wrong word there, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. You're supposed to really be paying attention, and like going into Taki mode does the exact opposite of what they intend you to be doing.
yeah. I mean, really, the best part of talkie mode is just listening to the music. In my opinion.
Also, her outfit, even though you can barely fucking see it because of like all the red and stuff all over the screen, but dude, her, I mean
Yeah,
that suit was pretty clean, bro. It's pretty cool.
yeah, it was cool. I like the whole one wing angel type of thing. That was sick.
Yeah, they really keep doing that. They love that motif. I mean, since we're talking about, I guess the structure of the combat, what did you think of the difficulty in this game?
The difficulty, it was whenever you hit the like space tower part. That's when it like really spikes up in difficulty, and it was just kind of stupid. I think it was kind of BS because I kept dying like a bunch over like throughout the game. Like it was challenging at points, but then you get to like the final moments of like it. Oh my god, dude! I know this is kind of like going on a tangent, but it really feels like they thought like they put majority of the time at that like the final moments of the game and at
Mm.
the beginning and in the middle they were like just throw a desert we'll throw a couple of like
Oh
bombs in
no.
there. collect some soda cans and stuff. It feels
Yeah.
like it wasn't. It feels like it didn't have as much thought put into like the majority of the game. The time you're gonna be spending doing it. It felt like a lot of the, because like all the coolest bosses happen like at near the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
with the Karakuri boss, the Demo Crawler, Raven, like
I would say
just
like in terms of the difficulty, I think the game was like consistently challenging, but I don't think it really gets hard, like you said, until like the end of the game. Like there are a couple of bosses where I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" But then I would just leave and come back. Really, most of the open world bosses, and we can get to that as well, because I think the open world is like the solution to your what you were saying about there not being enough bosses. Because there are some side missions where there's just straight up it just leads to a boss, and some of them are kind of just rehashed versions. Well, all of them are just rehashed versions of like enemies you already fought, but they have like more to them, like another phase or something like that.
interesting.
But yeah, I think that like I said, I was kind of struggling early on just because I couldn't fully understand how they wanted me to approach the combat. But once I figured that out, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not really an issue at all. This is mostly fine. Like you die a couple times, but it's like not that big of a deal. Until yeah, you get to the end, and then it's just like, okay, what the fuck? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, especially the bird one, the unidentified nativa. I still remember the name because of how much I struggled with that one. I was on that boss for like hours probably.
Really?
Like
See,
yeah,
that one's interesting because some of my other friends that were playing it said that that one was like insane. And when I first fought it, I had like I had been playing for like several hours, so I was getting ready to go to bed, and then I fought it twice, and I was like, okay, this is I'm gonna have to be fresh when I fight this, and so I went to bed, and then like I came back the next day, and I fought it, and I was like, I beat it in like 3 tries, and I was like, damn,
dang.
okay. I mean, this was definitely they were definitely cooking with this one, but it wasn't like that bad. And then you get Raven.
Mm. It's crazy. I feel like I had a more easier time with Raven than I did with the nativa.
So we've mentioned some of the characters' names, kind of dancing around the subject here. What do you think of the story? Do you want me to explain the story first? And then, no, actually,
Yes, please.
no. I want to hear what you have to say about the story first. Then I'll explain it, and then you give me your thoughts afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So what were your thoughts on the story?
It's a story. I mean, I'm very like I'm very much a like I have to like the characters at some capacity for me to care about the story first.
Mm.
And none of the characters like Adam, like first off, I mean, to be fair, I did play on the English dub for majority of the time. The Korean dub was probably better. I don't know. But
You
like
I've kind of heard that the Korean dub was really good. Honestly, I don't think that it was necessarily the dub. I think the game is written very strangely. Uh I think the way it was translated and the way they recorded the dialogue too. Like there's even some like NPC conversations that like that don't feel like two people are talking to each other. Like there's
yeah, they sound like Ubisoft characters.
yeah, dude. There's the guy who like cuts up fish or something like that. The random NPC, and he's just talking to Eve, and he's like, "Hello, Angel. Whoa," and she's and she's like, "Hi. What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry. I'm just a cook." And she's like, "Okay, bye." Wow, people are weird as fuck here. But she doesn't say them. She doesn't say them as separate like lines. She says, "Oh, bye." Man, that guy was weird. In the same sentence, while she's standing right next to him. It's like, what's happening here? And then Adam, his dialogue, I, he has some fine lines, I guess, but he is the most neutral toned character I've ever heard in anything ever. Like, he,
Honestly, yeah, probably the same.
yeah, dude, even like, L from Death Note has more inflection in his voice when he's talking. Like, he doesn't change inflection at all. When he's supposed to be mad, he sounds the same. When he's supposed to be sad, he sounds the same. When he's supposed to be happy, he sounds the same. Hey, Eve, what's going on? Wow, that's crazy. We really found out we're not human. I'm not surprised though. Like it's like, bro, what's happening with your
Right,
voice? Like,
man.
I mean, we're talking about the characters anyway. Let's just get into it. Like, the characters in this game are just they're so boring. Like, no. Let's go back to the story because I have to make some points first. So I'll just explain the story to you.
All
So
right.
the kind of timeline for what happens in the game is there was a war early. Well, no. So in the world they kind of live in this very cyberpunk esque time where there's like major corporations that advance AI and sell other products. There's like three of them: Orca Corporation, Eidos, and something else. But they kind of handle different aspects of technology, and they kind of advance in AI, especially. And then money isn't even a thing anymore. It's all crypto. All of the currencies are crypto now. But
That's crazy and funny.
yeah, it's quite something. But eventually, they this guy named Raphael Marx, he creates a super AI that he ends up dubbing Mothersphere, and
Mm-hmm.
at that time, that's when they kind of built the space station that kind of goes from Earth up to, I think they go to the moon or something. But they also create those colonies that kind of hover around Earth. And so people can live in space if you're really wealthy, if you're chosen by Mothersphere, by this super AI. And then the rest of the people stay on the floor on Earth. And so people are kind of just big chilling. Like they're living their life, everything's really advanced until at some point, for some reason, and Mothersphere also is like this all knowing AI where they kind of put all the major decision making of humanity onto the AI. I guess so that it can be. It's a concept that's kind of explored in a lot of different mediums, which we'll also get to. It's like they're just kind of having this neutral creation that doesn't have any biases that a human would to kind of make all your decisions so that you don't favor somebody. And so, for some reason, at some point, Mothersphere thinks, damn, humanity has to go. And so, she, as well as, I believe, at the time, other corporations started creating robots or cyborgs. It's not really 100% clarified, but they're called androidos. And the androidos start fighting. She sends androidos to Earth to start fighting humanity to kill it because they're not needed anymore for some reason. And
For some reason, that's interesting.
yeah, they don't ever actually clarify. If they do, it's maybe in some. I was reading a lot of the lore when I was playing the game because, like I said, I thought it was really interesting. But maybe I missed something and they explained why. But they, as far as I know, they don't actually clarify why Mothersphere just wants to get rid of humanity. And so Androidos invade Earth. They start wiping it out, or obviously. And eventually, humans are like, "Shit, dude, we can't handle this." So they go underground into these bunkers, which is what you find in those kind of shooter missions where you're, going into the place and learning more about the world. And so they basically start saying, "Dude, if we're going to survive, we have to do something." And they start experimenting on themselves. Humans start experimenting on themselves, and eventually they turn themselves into Natibas. So the whole time you've been killing humans,
Yeah.
and so when they've turned them, instead of prioritizing like intelligence and stuff like that, they kind of prioritize just brute strength, just because they want to win the war. And then they come out from underground and they start killing the androidos. And then at some point they start the Natiba start really advancing and winning, and they start going up the space elevator trying to get to Mothersphere because they're like, okay, we're gonna just cut the head off. And so Mothersphere says, ah, no, and then just drops a colony on the Earth. And I don't know how many of my listeners or viewers or whatever are Gundam fans, but it's just straight up like fucking Gundam. She just drops a space colony onto the Earth, and that's why Earth looks like that now, because it got super nuked, basically. And so now we're at the brink where, you know, Mother Sphere is sending out the Space Squadron, which is who you play as, Eve, and they're trying to come down, take out the Natibas, which are technically humans, and start, you know, reclaiming Earth for the Andro Eidos. Now, you don't find out about any of that until, like, the end of the game, or if you read the story. So you basically spoil yourself if you read the lore on like all the major plot points early in the game. So like by the time we kind of reached the plot twist of oh we're actually not humans, I was like yeah no shit. Have you been reading any of the things you've been picking up? And then also it's just obvious if you like when you're playing in the game, Lily and obviously all of the NPCs refer to themselves as humans, and I'm kind of looking around and I'm like you guys are obviously not human. like they have these robotic pieces in their heads. Like some of them don't even have eyes or noses or mouths. Like and then they also don't necessarily need to eat because they have like energy cores or whatever. And it's just like you're so obviously not a human. Like I don't understand. I didn't know what was happening because I was like you're clearly not human, but you keep calling yourselves that. Where you just are they just cyborgs and they're running around? But then if you do a side quest, and you talk to Digger, he's like a shopkeeper. All the shopkeepers also have their own quests and stuff, but his thing is about he's basically just this tiny robot who gains sentience, and he asks Eve, "How did you gain your sentience?" And she says the craziest shit I've ever heard. She says like, "Oh, yeah, I was kind of just sitting there absorbing information and expelling information until eventually I just realized I was Eve." And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I was fully ready for her to say, I don't know, I just popped out of like my mom and there I was, or popped out of the machine or something. And she's just like, no, I just kind of ruminated like thoughts and feelings. It was so weird. Yeah, yeah, dude. And so yeah, and then you get to the end of the game, a lot of stuff happens, and it turns out that you're supposed to be tasked. Eve's whole journey is to go onto Earth, kill all the Alpha Natibas, and then reach the Elder Natiba, kill him, and then there, bingo, like Earth saved. But you kind of start finding out that some of these Alpha Natibas are a little weird. They look like Androidos, and so it turns out Alpha Natibas are the merging of Androidos and Natibas, humans. And they're just failed experiments of somebody trying to basically perfect humanity. And that somebody, dun dun dun, it's Adam, your best friend. And so you get to the end of the game, and Adam reveals that he is Raphael Marx. I don't think he actually says that, but I guess you can just assume that. But yeah, he was just this. He experiments on himself and becomes an Natiba, but he's like the only smart one, bro. And so he's just like, yeah, I'm actually just normal, and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with the world. And I created these Alpha Natibas trying to basically fix humanity because we can't exist as Natibas, nor can we exist as robots, because then, I mean, we're basically not human. And so he wants to merge everybody, but it's like. This story is so poorly told. Like, what do you think of it? Yeah.
Well, I have a question. So, why did Madam from frame one actually better yet, why did Adam save Eve specifically? Like, why do all this?
So
you knew that Eve was gonna be like coming down to do what all the other ones were going to be doing, trying to kill Natibas.
Well, at some point, they say that Eve is special. Haha. Like she just has like, she's just built different. Like she's just better than everybody else.
Okay.
And so was Raven, I think. And so Raven, you find out throughout, while you're playing the game that Raven basically discovers all this stuff, that she starts finding out that she's not actually human and that she's kind of fighting for the bad guy. And she goes insane. And she wants to join Adam, so Adam experiments on her, turns her into an Alpha Natiba, and that is the unknown Natiba that you fight. But it just didn't work right. It just didn't work properly. And so then that's when he comes to the conclusion, oh, I just have to do it because I'm the smartest Natiba, and Eve is like like most built different of all of the of all of the seven squadron or whatever. And so if we combine, then we can save humanity. And
So
so
second time's a charm.
more like a sixth or something like that. Because I mean, when he was trying, when all the other Alpha Nativas were made, they were those were all just him trying to do it. But he just didn't merge himself for whatever reason. And so yeah, at the end of the game, you have to make the choice of joining Adam and combining to become the ultimate being, like your Shadow the Hedgehog, or you say, "No, I'm killing you." And so we both decided to kill Adam. And also, everybody else that I know that played this game also decided to kill Adam, which I think is really interesting because honestly, this is the first game I've played in I don't know how long that basically gives you that choice of like, oh, you choose your ending right here. And it was hard to choose. I actually didn't know what to do because on one hand, yeah, you want to save humanity. You want humanity to live on as more than just robots because that's kind of what they are. Like Lily says, "Oh, we're like the combination of flesh and machine. We're like we're both human and mechanical." But I guess she was just she was wrong because Adam straight up says you have no human DNA in you, and I was just like, that's so weird. I guess they just have synthetic flesh because they bleed. I kind of just assumed they were cyborgs, kind of, but I guess they're just full on robots. Yeah. Because even when you read the lore, it's like you find out they're experimenting on themselves, putting implants into themselves. So I just was thinking like, oh, so they're just like cyborged up now, like Cyberpunk, where it's like there's some people where you can clearly where it kind of blends the line where it's like, are you even human anymore? But then there's some people that are like more normal to just have a few implants or something. That's kind of what I thought it was, but no. And so we both chose to kill Adam, and that's technically the bad ending of the game. And like you kill Adam, and then Mother Sphere shows up and says, "Good stuff." And then you go on Mother Sphere. Lily's like concerned or something, and then you like, but Eve is like, "We have questions for you." And then you go onto the space. You go into the spaceship, and then it zooms out, and Lily's like, "Oh no!" And it's like a Dyson sphere around Earth, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? And then the game ends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, because we don't really properly see, I mean, we go to space and we can see Earth from like low atmosphere, but we don't really know what what the space colonies kind of technically look like. So when it zooms out, I'm like, oh, so there's just space colonies around Earth? Okay. But apparently that's bad. It doesn't look like that all the time. I was very confused by that ending. Have you?
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the reason why so many people probably, well, I guess so many in quotation mark. I don't know exactly, but I think the main reason why people chose the killing Adam one is because one, I'm pretty sure that's like whenever they give you that choice, it's just automatically on that choice. So that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And two, up until that moment, like Adam just kind of gives like villain vibes, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but I don't even know why I say this, but Lily's like being like, "Nah, Adam, you're wrong. We are human. You're kind of like just siding with Lily because, to be honest with you, she just has more emotion compared to Adam." So I mean, that's one thing,
dude. I mean,
that's
the
second reason why people chose that ending, because it's just like, well, Lily's actually having a bit of emotion. Adam's like giving off like
serial killer vibes.
Villain, yeah, like some Sephiroth vibes, like oh, it's for the greater cause. Join me, trust me,
And also his decisions up to that point make no sense. So like in the game, there's Zion, which is the last bastion of humanity, blah blah blah. Then there's Oracle, who's this supposed nice guy who's just trying to help everybody. And if you read some of the lore, a lot of people don't trust him because they've seen them bringing Naytibas underground into his lair and stuff like that. And they think, and he basically tells them, "Yo, you guys have to go inside this pod and sleep." And people are like, "What happens? Like, what's supposed to happen? What you're supposed to?" He's saying you go into the pod and sleep until eventually we wake you up when we have energy source. But they don't know why they believe him, why they should believe him, especially since he kind of shows up out of nowhere. You find out he dies, and he's actually he's also he's an alpha Naytiba that Adam worked on, and he was just trying to help everybody. He actually was a good guy. But it's like you have no real. I don't blame the citizens for not trusting him because he just appears out of nowhere and just starts saying, "Yeah, I know where the Naytiba are." What? It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then Adam, he just leaves, and then he just torches the place. He just destroys Zion, his home.
Well, actually, I believe that was Raven that did that.
We don't know that though. Like the assumption is that it was Raven, but we don't really know that, and we also don't know what he was doing. Because if it really was Raven, why didn't he stop her? Raven kills Man, who is just some guy who really gives a who cares?
Is just some guy.
Yeah, she kills Man. She kills Oracle. She kills tons of humans. She burns everything there, and then like you fight her, and then she leaves. And then you're just kind of wondering, why does she do that? Like when you realize it's Raven, it's like, okay, she kind of burned everything. Why? What prompted her to do that? There was kind of no real reason for her to do that, and there is no real reason for Adam to do that or to turn a blind eye for her doing that. Like she kind of served her purpose. She became an alpha Naytiba, and it failed. So what? And then Adam's like, "Oh, bro, trust me, I'm actually a good guy. Here's proof. Here's this battery that you can put into Zion, and it'll charge it up." It's like, one, who knows if that's actually a battery that's gonna work? Maybe it's just a nuke. Why would we trust you? Two, a battery as a peace offering doesn't really change the fact that you've been in charge of killing so many people. You killed Taki, who's Eve's best buddy, apparently, who you never see them build any kind of relate. It was, dude, Taki is like. We're supposed to feel bad when Taki gets turned into an Naytiba, but it's like, dude, I've seen you for like 5 minutes this whole game.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and there's no personality from any of the characters. Eve, one of my biggest pet peeves about the way that the characters are written is that Eve reacts to like nothing. She has zero reaction to anything. She says some funny stuff every once in a while, but generally speaking, she has nothing interesting to say. And when you're getting all these
funny stuff.
Well, I mean, there are like very small dialogue moments. Like, I think Lily says hell or something like that, and then Eve says, "Who taught you how to talk like that?" And Lily says, "Adam." Like it. Yeah, I know. It's very minuscule. But like. Generally speaking, Eve doesn't have anything interesting to say. Like, she doesn't say really much of anything. All these crazy plot twists are happening. Lily's freaking the fuck out. Adam's...
Yeah, because she's the only character in the game. That's
yeah.
The only character. Really.
Yeah.
All the other ones are just NPCs. Lily's like, yo, this is kind of crazy. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, we did see that. In the most monotone voice ever.
Yeah, and then Eve is just kind of like, man, that happened. We should move forward though. I thought what they were trying to do with her was like, you kind of get all these bits of the lore, and she was going to she was kind of implying that she wanted to reserve judgment until they knew the whole story. And then when we find out the whole story, she doesn't give a shit, and she's hyper pissed at Raven. Why? I don't know. Like, she tells Lily's in this big mech who could kill. She could probably just one-shot Raven if she wanted to. I mean, probably not, but still. It'd be a big help in the fight. And she's just like, "No, Lily, this is my fight." What? Why? I mean, yeah. I mean, she is technically the one that killed Taki, but I don't want to say who cares because I know that's supposed to be her friend, but why does the audience care? Like, I'm supposed to be hyped about Eve finally being mad when she has almost, like, no reason to? I don't know. Like, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Adam, man, he's the reveal of the big bad, and he just doesn't. He's just not that interesting. He looked cool in the end with his like wings and stuff, but man,
Yeah, he looked cool.
it was
I
definitely
feel like
a
that could
miss.
be. I feel like that can be said for like a lot of this game. It looked cool, but there's not really much substance to it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then like I think one of the worst things about the game too, and this is only gonna hit for some people, because like not everybody's played Nier Automata, but this game is like a complete ripoff of Nier Automata narrative wise. Like it is
Mm.
insane how many narrative beats are just ripped straight from that game. And the director, I mean, he admitted that he's a huge fan of Nier, and he did an interview with Yoko Taro, who's the guy that makes the Nier games, and they basically were just
Hmm.
talking about the game and stuff like that. But and then the game also has the Nier composer. He did
Yeah.
like almost half of the music in the game or something like that. And
Oh,
so
he did all of it.
yeah, I don't know if he did all of it because I mean, Shift Up also has their own music team, and there's like just very clear and Shift Up music, like some of the dubstep and stuff. They do that a lot in some of their games. So I don't think he
Okay.
did that, but he did a lot of the music. That's the point. And so it's like this game clearly wants to be near Automata, but it just doesn't do. It doesn't write any of the characters as well as Nier Automata did. It doesn't write the story as compelling as Nier Automata did. So you're kind of just playing this diet Nier and this diet Dark Souls and this diet Devil May Cry. And it's like it's cool, it's good,
It's
it's
directionless.
fun, but yeah, it just feels really directionless.
Well, now that you've explained the story to me, I think the world building and lore sounds interesting and cool, but again, like the storytelling, like it wasn't there. It was, I mean, honestly, I just didn't like it. I mean, if like the world sounds cool, but you have to make me be interested in learning about the world in the first place. So, and whenever you have characters that sound like ChatGPT AI response, like because I'm not going to be listening to it. Like first impressions, really matter, and like I was not impressed by the character, so I was just like, whatever. I'm here for the gameplay, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunate, man. Because I honestly, I
It
think
really is.
the
So
more I play, the more games I play, and the more kinds of games I play, the more I realize that like I can kind of, I tend to value the story more than gameplay in a lot of scenarios, because like for instance, this is a hated game that I'm going to mention, and I think I might make a video about it because I think it's kind of underrated. But Ultra Despair Girls, the Danganronpa third-person shooter, a lot of people hate that game, but like the gameplay is like not the most interesting thing in the world, but it's serviceable. But I think the characters writing is so good, and like the story is so interesting, especially the time that it takes place within the Danganronpa universe. I think it's so cool, and so like when I finished that game, I loved it, and I didn't mind that the gameplay was kind of mediocre because the story and the characters were so interesting. And like in this game, it's like the opposite. Like I think the level design is pretty good, and I think that the combat is engaging, especially the second half of the game. So where by the time I finished it, I was like, I liked this more than I didn't like it. But
yeah,
and I also think that's helped a lot in the lore. If the lore wasn't that interesting, I don't know if I don't know if I could have finished this game like on normal difficulty. I might have just like if the game had bad lore, I might have just turned it on story mode just to finish the game and then just turned it off, dude. I would have never finished it. Um,
yeah.
One of the other like story moments that I just have to mention because like it was just so I couldn't believe what I was looking at when it happened. So you mentioned earlier like the latter part of the game when you're on the space station is the most interesting aspect, and it all kind of culminates in a super sick set piece where you're fighting the Belial boss. I think it was called Belial, the
Yeah,
thing that's like
I
all
believe so.
the Andro Eidos together, and it's honestly kind of like one big
Oh,
Evangelion reference.
I. Oh no, you're talking about the demo crawler.
Yeah, that thing, the demo crawler. Yeah, there's so many Evangelion references in that boss. It was so sick. But yeah, you fight that thing, um, And then eventually it turns out the Demogorgon is the actual Alpha Natiba. And so like throughout that level, Eve uses Lily's like railgun, because they kind of show up as like this little droid, and you can use it as a gun, which is kind of overpowered if you really level them up. But anyways, she uses the railgun once, and she uses like she uses her body core, which is like a thing you can upgrade in the game, but it's basically like what makes the Andro Eidos kind of like live. But she uses that to overcharge the beam, the railgun, to like kill an enemy, and they're just like, "How many more times can I do that? You can only do that 2 more times, Eve, or else you'll die." And she's like, "Okay." And it's kind of supposed to sow the seed for something that'll happen later. And what happens is, it turns out the Demogorgon Alpha Natiba takes over the whole space station, and you have to beam that thing to death before you can leave. But she kind of just gets thrown into space with no parachute, and she's just kind of like, "Damn, I gotta kill this thing." So she tells Lily to charge up, and she doesn't just shoot 2 beams. She shoots like 5 or 6 of them. And like as she's beaming it, it's cool. It's cool as hell. The music's going and everything. But as she's doing it, she's gonna shoot one more, and Lily's like, "If you do this one more time, I don't know if you can make it. You're gonna die." And she's like, "It's okay. This is what I was made for. I'm going to give my life to save the world." And then she fires this one huge beam, and then she starts falling from space to Earth. And I'm thinking, damn, I didn't expect this.
How'd she not get incinerated?
Yeah, like, well, I thought, okay, there's no way Eve is going to die, because that's just not happening. But how is she supposed to survive this? She's exhausted her body core, so she has no energy left. She's basically effectively just dead. And so Lily like says, "Please, someone from the colony, please save us." And so
Mother Sphere,
so the Mother Sphere sends a mech that Eve just gets into, and then they land on Earth. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense why she would survive the fall, because the mech saved her. But her body core is exhausted, so she should be dead. So she gets out of the mech, and Lily's like, "I'm so glad you're alive," and hugs Eve, and Eve's like, "Yeah, that was crazy." And I'm like, what? Why is she alive right now? You literally just said you're exhausting your body core, you will die. And she just lives. You finished the game. They don't explain how. They don't explain why. She's just okay. Like, maybe the mech that she got into had another body core and it injected in her. But it's like, dude, show that then. Like, why is Eve alive at the end of the game? It doesn't make any sense. And that's just kind of one of those things with this game. Like, they just don't... It's the little details, and I mean, there's the big details too. But there are just some little details, like just character writing, that would benefit this game.
There's too many little details.
Yeah. Like, if the story was kind of told in a clumsy way like how it is now, I wouldn't care if I just liked Eve, Lily, and Adam. Like, you spend so much time with these characters, but they don't say anything the entire time. It's like, it'd be like, imagine playing Uncharted, and Sully and Drake just don't say anything the whole time. It'd be so weird.
Or they just be like, "Man, I can't believe we survived that." Anyways.
Yeah.
Most monotone voice. Like, where's the character? Like, where's the reaction? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's just weird. I really do think, like... Well, I guess we'll get into the future anyway later on. We've kind of gone all over the place. We did not go through my structure at all. What did you think of the open world and the side missions? We can go through that quickly, because I honestly, I didn't really like the open world. I think the open world is like one of the worst aspects of this game from a design standpoint. Like, it wasn't too terribly interesting, and there are dead bodies everywhere, and you can talk to them. And the same goes for the side missions. Like, you find a nephew Jimmy is missing. Please find him. You go somewhere in the open world. Oh, look, it's Jimmy. He's dead. It is the same mission over and over and over again. The
Yeah,
side
pretty much
missions
it
are
is.
the same thing with like maybe a different rapper. Oh, it's my brother. Oh, it's my boyfriend. It turns out he died from an ATBA, or it turns out I killed him. I'm crazy. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Why are they all the same thing? Like, and they always have the same thought. Like, oh no, oh no, I died, but I hope Chester survives. Go find Chester's body. You find Chester's body. Oh no, I died, but I hope Marcus survives. And then you just find Marcus's body. Oh no, everyone hoped I was gonna live, but I died, and everybody else died too. It's like, dude, couldn't you have had some variety with this? Like, I don't know. What did you think?
Well, I didn't really do that many of them, and the only reason why I probably did a couple of them is because I needed money or I wanted a specific outfit, and that was literally it. I did not really. It was a very, it was very that straightforward. I literally like looked up guides because I would just like seeing outfits online. Like, man, this outfit looks cool. What is it? Alright, I'm gonna just do it. That's it. If the outfits wasn't the incentive, I'd be like, I wouldn't have touched it. I really would have just went I would have just been through like just straight campaign missions and that's it. I wouldn't have even bothered doing some of the side stuff because, like, not only is it narratively, not only is it not interesting to me. I mean, I was already pretty clocked out when it comes to the narrative of the game because I just didn't care for the characters and story and such.
Yeah.
But also, like, mechanically, it's also just not interesting. You're not going to, well, I mean, you probably do in some of them, but I didn't really do that many of them. But, so, from personal experience, I haven't encountered, like, any interesting enemies, like, no surprise bosses I gotta fight or nothing like that. I'm sure it probably does happen in the game,
Yeah.
but a lot of it was just, like, fetch quests, be like, alright. And even think, oh my god, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's a good thing, but also a bad thing. Like the fetch quest, it just directly tells you where it's going to be on the map. So all you got to do is just like go here, run over there, pick up the thing. Oh yeah, this is the thing that he wanted. Return to camp. Yes. Like it's the most basic like time waster side quest thing, and I say it's a double-edged sword because while it's badly designed in my opinion, I'm also glad that at least it's convenient because I only just want to do the outfit in the first place. So I'm glad I don't have to like go out, click the X button, run back. I can at least hold the X button to get immediately back, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, dude, I mean, speaking
but
of holding the X button really quickly, because you're basically talking about when you complete a side quest, it'll say, "Do you want to go back to Zion to your camp so that you can just like complete it?" Um,
mhm.
One of the most annoying things about the open world is the fact that you can't fast travel to all of the camps. So there are
Yeah,
specifically,
it's such a weird design choice. I don't
yeah,
understand that.
it's so you can find telephones, and then you can find small camps, and then you can find larger camps. You can fast travel between telephones, and you can fast travel to larger camps because they have a telephone there. But if you find a small camp and that camp just so happens to be next to what your mission is, sorry, buddy, you got to go to one of the others. You have to go to the phone
Yeah,
or
you
you have
gotta
to go
run
to the
over there.
large camp. And it made it so irritating when playing the open world because the enemies aggro so crazy. Like they are so
Oh
hyper
yeah.
focused.
If they see you, they're gonna be chasing you for like the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's so
Like you
hard to
can't really
lose
run from
aggro unless you go down somewhere or go up somewhere. But even then, they'll still run at the wall or something. And so yeah, it became like really irritating when I was just trying to like get to like my side mission, and then it'd be like, oh no, sorry, bro, like you got to fight this guy. Yeah, it was just the side missions are like there are some cool ones. I think the best quest in the game and the best story in the game told is the one with Enya and I forget the guy's name, but it's kind of this story about this robot who is kind of in shambles and has like this guard who
it.
like loves her or whatever, and they're in that bar,
Mm-hmm.
and so
I saw it.
you do like a bunch of different things. You put her back together, and then eventually you find out that she actually was this AI that was created to be like an opera singer. And then like at the end of the quest, she sings a song, and you get a cutscene of the whole Zion hearing her sing. It's a little silly, but it's kind of wholesome. I didn't really care because again, like it's hard to care about any of the characters, but it was a cool quest. Like of all the characters in the game, I enjoyed them the most because they showed the
It sounds like
most. What were you gonna say?
it sounds like an actually designed side quest instead of
Yeah,
just go here to pick up the thing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's even twists and turns with it. One of them, it's like Enya is worried that her boyfriend is dead. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's about to be the same quest that we always do. It's just I'm just gonna be finding clues to find this guy dead. But no, you find the clues and he's actually alive. Like he was looking for legs to give to her because she's kind of broken apart. And you find him and he's actually alive. And Eve scolds him. She's like, dude, don't do this stuff on your own. Eve's character, and Adam as well to a small degree, her character really shows in the side quests. That's when, because you're kind of dealing with other people, she's actually talking to other people, and she's put into situations other than let's focus and fight these bad guys. She's kind of put in dilemmas where she can like express her thoughts a little bit more, and she's very still kind of robotic, very like stern person who's just purely justice and everything. But sometimes she's a little bit more interesting. I mean, this is one of the only games I've ever played where you go to the bulletin board and you want to accept a side quest, and your main character will deny it. Like there's a side quest
Really?
where, yeah, there's a side quest where a guy says, "Hey man, I want some cocaine, bro. Give me some of that." And she basically reads the board and she says, "No, I'm not doing that." And so it just puts an X over the mission. And there's another one where somebody basically
That's so
also,
funny. I wish I saw that. I would have laughed at
yeah,
that, but
dude,
that would have got a laugh out of me.
yeah, it's pretty hilarious. There's another one where somebody wants to do something dangerous to themselves. I think they want to put in a new part, and it's a possibility that it'll like shock them or something. And she's like, "Electrocutions? I don't think so." And then just X's it off. Like, it's they really become more interesting in some of those moments. Though somewhat lighthearted, even though I mean people are dying all the time. You can only get so lighthearted in this game, but yeah, that's when their characters start to show a bit more, and I wish that there was more to that. And to your point, also, what you were saying was, from the quests you were doing, you don't really fight bosses, but yeah, I mean, there are some side quests that just lead to a boss, and like I said earlier, I think they're just rehashed versions of previous ones, but they are still fun challenges to do. I wish there was more variety, maybe less. I mean, less side quests and more like good ones.
Variety side quest.
Yeah, and instead of just the same thing over and over, because I felt like eventually, like this, there was way too many side quests. Like I didn't care to do. I'm the kind of person who will like play most of what's available to me. Like if I unlock a side quest, I'll do it. Unless I have to really go out of my way or have to go do something I just don't want to do. Like in this game, there are side quests on previous levels that you have to go to, and I was like, dude, I do
I'm not
not.
going. In fact, you
Yeah.
can't. And the fast travel too. You can't see the map. 'Cause I
Yeah,
tried
you can't
doing
see
one
the
of
map.
those, and whenever I got there, I'm like, oh, I have to go to each. Oh, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I went right back, bro. I'm like, yo, let's go. Let's do this. The main mission. I don't want
Yeah.
it.
I was like, dude, if I could see the map of the level and I could fast travel to where I wanted to go, then cool. But you can't. So it's like, so you want me to basically repeat this level just to do a side quest? No, I'm good.
Actually, I did do it one time because again because of
An
an
outfit.
outfit. one one of the side quests has an outfit where you have Eve dressed up as a bear, and I'm just like, okay, I want to get that outfit.
Oh,
It looks very cute and funny, and that's
yeah.
literally what you have to do.
I kept seeing that outfit in some people's like videos or whatever, but I just never knew how to get it. I didn't look up anything. I wanted to play the game blind. Um, but yeah, damn, I wish I should have did that because that outfit does look cute. Yeah, while we're talking about the costumes, let's talk about some of the more. Let's talk about the graphics, the music, the costumes, kind of the more vain things about Stellar Blade.
I'll start off with the graphics first. So actually, a lot of the dislike bullet points I kind of wrote down is kind of more the technical side.
Hmm.
So, for example, I said the game design direction feels all over the place. outdated design principles like yellow markings, invisible walls, and bottomless pits.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, at the beginning of the game, you're supposed to go into like to collect the first, I think, core battery thing. I don't remember what it's called,
Hmm.
but I went around it just because I wanted to see like what is over here that might be hiding like a secret or something. And then I get hit with like a giant invisible wall, even though it looks like you can still like go in that direction. And like that was the first time it happened, and I mean it happens a lot throughout this game where it looks like there's directions you can clearly go, and there might be like a little secret to go in, but no, you just get hit with an invisible wall. And I like, I guess it's technically not too bad, but it just bothers me so much because these are like designs, like game design stuff that's been solved for years now.
Yeah.
Like you should design a level for like, for example, I'm playing God of War 2018 right now, and it's a very linear game. You're supposed to go into like a specific direction and stuff, and there are no invisible walls. There doesn't need to be invisible walls. Like if like they designed the level based like they designed the visuals of the level based off of like how that game was supposed to be, designed in the first place. So having just these empty, like wide open, invisible walls, it feels like they kind of just like made low. They were like, let's cut this part right here, and they just didn't bother like putting at least like a cliff or like an actual like physical wall to let the player know like there isn't anything interesting over there. And
Yeah.
stuff like that just like bothers me so much because it's outdated. Like it's been solved before. Like just have a literal wall right there, and it's fine. And the yellow marking thing, like I understand because again, linear games like this, they want to make sure they can guide the player to going towards a specific direction and stuff. So I get it, but it's not subtle at all. And I understand it's like okay, stuff like this just bothers me so much. Like the way, because it's obviously supposed to be taking inspiration from Naughty Dog games like Uncharted, which also had the whole yellow thing of where you're supposed to go. But the thing is, like, it was designed to like match the environment. In
Hmm.
this game, it literally looks like just someone just painted it to like tell you to
Yeah.
where to go, and it just looks so weird. Like, why
Well,
would
hey
you
man,
like?
maybe it's actually subtle environmental storytelling. Adam was the one who chose Eve. He wanted her to do all this stuff. Maybe maybe Adam went through every level in the game and painted yellow stuff for her to follow.
You might have a point, maybe. But that does sound like a like I don't know,
But I mean, you're
but
right though.
yeah,
Like, I think like a very simple that I literally just thought of a way to have kind of recontextualized that would have been you have the drone, and then when you press the touchpad, he
yes,
scans.
like the drone, like in Horizon Forbidden West, there's climbable markers that is highlighted in yellow. But because in Horizon West you have like the little earpiece thing, and you click down the button to like do the scan, it
Yeah.
tells you like where the mark. Like they could have did something like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Oh my god, it's
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's
and
stuff that like comes with experience. Like,
yeah, yeah.
since this is
I
their
mean,
first AAA game.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it is the first AAA game. I'll give them that, absolutely. But they had so like, first off, Sony's publishing this, so obviously, they got like the backing of Sony to like have them help develop this game. It's not like they were just like making this game like by themselves. Like Sony kind of came in, help publish it, for it to be having a worldwide audience and stuff.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they have like the Uncharted 2 train sequence. Like
Yeah.
obviously like
Yeah.
inspired by Uncharted 2, like come on now. They had like yes, it is their first AAA game, I'll give them that, but like they could have got some help, like some type of like design help or stuff like that.
Yeah. That's definitely. I don't know. I mean, It's interesting. I mean, this is a weird situation because PlayStation did publish this game, but Shift Up owns the IP. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what kind of goes into a deal like that. Maybe it's kind of much more of a we will fund this and then you will make this only on PlayStation and that's like the terms. And then we can't
I don't think
we
that's what it is.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that and then like but if you wanted additional help and you wanted us to I guess you wanted our studios to give you some backing when it comes to like some extra stuff like level design or something, then we would have to have like we'd have to own the IP or something because then they would technically also be developing the game, right? So I don't know.
Mm,
I honestly have no
that
idea
could
what
be
kind of
one.
goes into that kind of deal and what really happened. Um, but I mean, what about we got to wit all over the place. What about the music? Also, which mode did you play
Uh,
on for the game? Did you play on graphics or did you play on I guess performance?
I played on performance. Yeah.
Okay, so did I.
Um, and I know you just said the music. Okay, because there's some other like technical stuff that I think about.
Oh,
Like,
go ahead.
for example, the the characters' animations. Whenever it the character animations, whenever like doing that like headshot talking, speaking dialogue and stuff, it looks like we just got some like animation from like an Unreal Asset store, and we're just like, yeah, that's good enough, and called it a day. There was
Yeah.
whenever she said yes and continues to finish, she'll still be like nodding, and it's just like small like little misconnections like that, where it's just like,
Yeah.
why?
I think that what I think that was, and this is like one of my biggest gaming, especially Japanese centric gaming piece. What is the word I'm looking for? Japanese gaming centric pet peeve. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that what I believe they did was they did mocap,
I
and
don't think so. I'm gonna be
I
honest with you, I
think
don't think
so
so.
because I find this happens in so many games, especially in Japan. I mean, they're a Korean studio, obviously, but like to cut costs, they'll mocap something and then just put it into the game instead of reanimating it to where it looks natural. And so like they'll just kind of because they know it has a I mean, this game is supposed to look a little bit more realistic, but it is also appealing to like an anime fan audience. So they kind of make them behave. They overact and like it just looks super unnatural. Like I don't know if you've ever played or looked at World of Final Fantasy, for instance, but that game, dude, it's so clearly mocapped, and they're just these chibi characters, and they look so bad, man. Like the
Oh,
animations in that game killed me. That's what I think it was. I mean, it's possible that it was just I don't think it was an asset flip. I think they probably made those animations themselves, but yeah, it did. Those conversation cutscenes were fucking awkward.
and and it kind of goes back into. I mean, I don't want to go back into story because I know we were just talking about that for like a long time, but stuff like that makes me continue. Like it just makes me continue to like disconnect with the characters. It doesn't
Yeah,
really help me like want to know more about them and stuff. Because if they're gonna be really acting like NPCs, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, give me the NPCs. Like, but and funnily enough, don't. I feel like this game. Okay, I don't think I really care for the visuals and art direction of this game. And I'm not saying that the game, like graphically, the game does look pretty impressive, but visual direction, it feels so weird because I think the more striking visuals are like the outfits, which I mean is kind of like but the environments, like they're just really not interesting. Like two of like the areas in the game that are going to be going back to over and over again, which are like the Great Desert and the Wasteland. And I understand they're supposed to be like deserts, but they're so empty. There's nothing
yeah,
there. It's just a bunch of hills and like uh, they sprinkled the buildings like at the edges of the map. Even then, it's not that many buildings. it's just empty. It feels like I'm playing like Ocarina of Time on N64, and it's just like, ooh, this is crazy. This is look how big it is. And it's just like you gotta like walk from point A to point B. It's gonna take like probably 30 minutes. Oh, it'll feel like an hour, even though it's been 5 minutes. And there's just nothing. Like there's enemies there, but like there's because of how wide this area is, I don't need to really interact with them. So I can just like bypass them. I don't even need to do anything with them. And not only that, it's the underground sections. Like they didn't really feel visually distinct. Like outside of like I don't really remember the difference between them was because only because of the set piece and like the train puzzle where you have to like spray the water to get like the little password thing to continue with the level.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why I know that difference. Because other than that, they both visually honestly just feel very similar and the same. And I understand there's supposed to be like subway systems that are like degraded and stuff, but again, it just there isn't anything environments wise, there isn't anything visually that's like super striking to me. Even like Xeon, it's just like okay, this is like a cyberpunk esque like area, but
But it's still a bunch of
the
brown and it's like dusty and stuff.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Then like a lot of these like building stuff, you're not really going to be interacting with like it's just environment design and all that stuff. Like it's just incredibly forgetful. And again, whenever you get to that elevator part at the final areas of the game where you actually start seeing the different like settings and stuff, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like you get this Japanese setting, you
Yeah.
get like this like the deteriorated like space station setting, you get like this the elevator part where it's like all regal and nice looking and clean,
Hmm.
and then you get like stuff like that. Like that's cool, but majority of the game, you're gonna just be looking at like, oh boy, can't wait to go over this third hill in the desert with nothing happening. It's very exciting.
I think this is probably the first point that I mostly disagree with you on. Well, maybe not mostly, because I do agree that much of this game, especially with the open worlds, are not visually indistinct. Like you have the desert and then you have the wasteland, which are basically synonyms of each other. Like they are literally the
Yeah,
same thing. One has more rocks and the other one has more sand.
and one
The
has like a
open,
tube, and that's it.
yeah, I mean the open worlds in general. Like I just did not. We'll get to it later, but I think that when there's a Stellar Blade 2, because I think at this point it's a foregone conclusion, this game sold a million copies. Um,
Mhm.
I think they should just get rid of it altogether. Like I think the open world
Oh
sucks
yeah,
in this game. But I do think that visually this game has a pretty cool aesthetic. Like I think like the character designs in terms of the way they designed the characters they obviously cared about. So
yeah.
Adam, Lily, Eve, and Enya, and then some of the shopkeeper girl. She was like small and cute. Any of the
Hmm.
very obvious human looking characters, they have great designs, and like it's
Yeah, I can
it,
agree with that.
yeah, and even like Oracle, and Raven too, but even Oracle, he's like an old, weird looking guy, but he's very distinct and well like designed. It's just all of
Hmm.
the it's a desolate world, so you don't meet too many actual characters. But all of the like side characters and random NPCs are so boring looking and honestly ugly. Like they have these weird, fucked up bodies that are like it doesn't look like they have machines made with them. It looks like somebody dropped a chunk of iron onto their head or in their arm or something. Like they look fucking weird. Um, but and then like I mean Eve had I mean the costume. I don't have to say it. Like the costumes are amazing in this game. Like there's some very clearly like raunchy stuff that's just supposed to be sexy,
Hmm.
and then but then there's some that are just really cool. And I don't know if you watched it or not, but before the game came out, they did a series of like mini docs where they were kind of going
Oh
into
yeah, I
like the
did.
design. Yeah, one of the interesting things I thought about it, especially with the Natives, was that some for some things they didn't design them in game first. They made them
Yeah, they made them
outside.
in clay and stuff.
Yeah, so the designer of the Natibas was this Korean horror film artist that they got, and he would just make them with clay models, and then they would scan the clay and then put it into the game. And he had, I mean, I think the Natibas at
Are
first,
meaningful in my opinion.
yeah, I think in the
The
beginning,
boss ones at least.
yeah, yeah. Like I think in the beginning they kind of look like very generic Unreal Engine asset flippy kind of like monsters, but then they start to become like you start to notice some of them have like themes, like some of them kind of crustacean looking, some of them look like actual animals. Like there's one that's supposed to be like a weird horse thing. The Natibas visually become very interesting, especially like you said towards the end of the game. Um, and I think also the level design, I think aesthetically is more interesting at the end of the game. Like at the end of the
Yeah, at the end of the
game,
game.
yeah, it's. I mean, I think the first level is pretty good, and then after that, it's kind of, and then the end of the game, it's like, wow, this is incredible. Like you have the
Yeah.
section before the space station where you're kind of just going around and, um, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just kind of like this industrial area, which is kind of whatever. But then like you start doing the like puzzles with the lasers, which were annoying by the way, and
Yes.
then you get and then also that horrible. What were they thinking when they made those auto killing like turret things? Like that was just so
Oh, I hate
irritating.
that.
what
Yeah.
what was the point in that? Like well, it just basically one shots you. Um,
Yeah. Oh, and they keep you in stun lock. Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
do
yeah,
not get
yeah.
that.
But
I
the
hated that.
but the space station itself, I mean, dude, I love like astronomy and space stuff, so that's already kind of going to like get me interested. But like visually, it looks so damn cool, and you start making your way up there, and it gets more and more interesting, and then you reach the part where it's basically you're getting into the spaceship that all of the rich people get before they go to one of the space settlements, and
Hmm.
you get this weird this weird AI thing that starts giving you a tour and then it just abruptly dies, which I laughed at. I don't know if I was
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
laugh at it or not, but it was hilarious.
Oh yeah. It was just funny. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't even know if I laughed at it. I was just like, oh, I guess they're dead now. That's tough. They had a whole cutscene and everything. They made it seem like they were important, but I guess not.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the space station looked incredible. I think like the last area too, the like Natiba nest looks really cool.
Yes.
And then the Adam boss fight is straight out of like Elden Ring or something. You get into this all. It's
Yes.
also straight out of Azura's Wrath actually. Like that's the final true ending area in that game.
You know what's funny? Whenever I saw it, it reminded me of Gravity Rush. It
Yeah,
reminded me of like the like mining Nevi area in Gravity Rush.
yeah, I can eat that too. Um, but yeah, I
It's
mean, I
cool
think
looking
that
though.
game has some really cool, well designed, like visually interesting places. It's just they're unfortunately few and far between, especially when you have two open worlds that are just boring and brown and drab. It's like a PS3
And
game.
it sucks. And it sucks because it literally like, all the cool stuff seems to happen literally right at near the end of the game instead of
Yeah.
like the middle of the game.
One of the other things I've been trying to say this for a while, but I wanted to talk about the music. I guess I don't have that much to say
Yeah,
about it.
sorry.
But the music is incredible in this game, man. Like they have some bops. Like Tachi's theme is awesome. The boss battle with Raven goes so hard.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, the theme that they play as you're ascending in the space elevator is so good. Some of the open
Hmm.
world themes are really beautiful too. Um,
Bro, the Wasteland one where she goes, nah, I love that part, bro. I
yeah,
had to be like,
dude.
oh my god.
Dude, that theme's so good. I mean, there's just really good, incredible music. Which what do you expect the near composer? Like that guy's incredible. His team is awesome, and even the shift up guys, like I'm pretty sure they're the ones that were doing some of those bops, like the Raven theme.
Yeah, the
That
Raven theme definitely didn't feel like it,
yeah.
like it was very out of place, but I loved it though because it was such a bop.
Yeah, it was so good. But yeah, what were some of your? I mean, I know you you got a lot of negatives, but what were some of your favorite things about the game? Some of your favorite like moments?
Moments.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
Uh,
be like a scripted moment, but it could have just been something personal that you had where you were like, ah, I figured out this boss, or you did a cool thing or something. I don't know.
it very much was like near the end of the game, fighting Raven, uh, like finally like beating the Natiba one. The same thing with just like my I guess favorite moves in general were just fighting the bosses. Um, and it's kind of weird. Like I just recognized that like, oh, this is a very like cool moment, but it wasn't really a standout moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I just really just liked fighting the bosses. Like fighting the bosses was like just the highlights of the game for me. Like I'm like and it kind of sucks because I didn't really like in at least in the main campaign I didn't really fight that many of them, and two of the bosses, I fought in the demo, so I was like very familiar, fighting it and stuff. Um, yeah, and I guess seeing the the Virgil like glass shattering move was pretty cool. I was just like, oh wow, that's kind of sick.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess those were the highlights for me, just fighting the bosses.
Yeah, I think like obviously the boss battles are the best part of the game. Some of my favorite moments were some of like the Belial one where you kind of fight it 3 times basically.
Mm-hmm.
Where you fight it the one time you cut off its arm and then you fight it again. That was all really cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and also just some of the intros for some of the bosses like the demo crawler is I think what you called it. Dude,
Yeah.
when you walk into
When
that
you land down, when you
yeah,
jump and land down, and the music goes crazy. Oh
yes,
yeah,
dude.
that was sweet.
Yeah, that was so sick. That was such a cool moment. Like I said earlier, when she's in space and she's shooting the Demogorgon, like that was just fucking so cool.
Yeah,
I think the intro was
yeah,
great in this game too. Honestly, I think like you hit the beach and then everything's falling all over the place and you're fighting and then you fight that mini boss and then the mysterious Natiba shows up and kills Taki. I think the game has a really strong intro as well.
uh, I don't know. I guess I'm not. I'm not kind of the opposite. I guess maybe since I saw like the trailers and stuff, and it like kind of like gives you glimpses of certain stuff. Like
Probably.
that moment whenever you're shot out in like space and stuff, and you have to like use Luli to like shoot the super big Alpha Natiba that's
Yeah.
taking over the space station and stuff. Like that was shown at like the announcement trailer, so I was just like, okay, I recognize this. So it wasn't as cool to me because like I've seen it before,
Yeah, I get that.
um, and again because I played the demo, I fought like the first boss and the stalker boss. So like whenever I fought them, I was just like, all right, I know what I'm getting myself into. So, but like the Karakuri boss fight was super cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The obviously we said it a bunch of times already, but the Raven boss fight was really cool. The Adam fight was really cool,
Yeah, the Adam
and
fight was awesome.
the I forgot the I don't know the name of it, but that one the first the first Alpha but that you fight with like the saw blade head and stuff, that was
Oh
cool
yeah,
too.
yeah, that was cool.
Just yeah.
I would be. I should also mention as we wrap this up and start talking about like the future of what I think is inevitably going to be a series. I mean, this game's been very successful. One of the things I wanted to mention was the other endings in the game. So, did you actually look them up and what they are?
Yeah, I looked it up. It was actually like it was emotional. I would never. Well, I guess since we're talking about the other endings, like I was sad. I'm like, man, I'm glad I chose the Adam one because man, I would have actually been sad because it's the only character in the game that had a bit of emotion, and
Yeah,
they just like kill her, and the way she died was just like, oh man, it was so sad. And then you see like Eve take out like her body, and like you see like, oh man, all like half her body's gone and stuff. I'm like. I would have, man, I'm so glad I didn't choose that one. And then the fact that you had to like fight her too, and you're
yeah.
kind of like partially the problem as to why she died. Like, I'm very glad I didn't choose that one because I would have actually been like, damn, I'm sad.
Okay, it sounds like you know one of them. Do you know about the third ending?
This the I guess secret ending or the super true ending, whatever it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, it's kind of like the Lily one, but she lives.
Yeah,
and yeah,
and
she
everything's
lives
happy.
and gets to yeah, everything's happy,
Yeah, so basically
and she
you get to the end of the game, and instead of killing Adam, you choose to merge with him, and then Eve merges, and I mean we technically got the bad ending, but I don't know. I think that the secondary, like the merge, the non-true merging Adam ending is like the worst one in the game because you merge and then you become Eve Super, and Lily at some point just says like I miss the old Eve, and then she dies.
yeah, yeah, that one sucks. I'm like, man, like she literally says that, and she dies. I'm like, oh, oh, that's so sad. What the heck?
Yeah, but
Not the only character in the game I care about just dies.
yeah, but the true ending is you merge, and then like Mother Sphere just basically says, "Bro, that was cool,
You
but
did.
you made the wrong
You
choice."
100% of the game. Congrats.
Yeah,
Lily lives, and you save Xeon, and now you're like a god, basically, or something.
but then she still
That
sends
god.
like the other what you call it at you. It's like Halo Reach, where it's like objective survive, and so you just
Yeah, literally.
kill. You're basically just in Taki mode all the time, and so you just kill a bunch of like other squadron members until eventually
Mm-hmm.
like it just shows Lily putting in the battery so Zion's alive, and then um, Eve jumps off this building and she's now become the Stellar Blade.
Just
Well,
become the celebrity herself.
I honestly don't like her design when she becomes Super Eve. I think it looks really weird. So I mean, I assume they're gonna go with that ending, even though
Yeah, I think so.
I think it, I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see what happens with the Adam one too, because what is Eve going to ask her? What's like the follow up on that? But I mean, the most hopeful, realistic ending is probably that one. So, what do you think? What do you hope to see for a Stellar Blade 2? Where do you think that the story is gonna go? Where do you want to see this IP just move?
Okay, I'm not gonna really comment on the story because I don't know where it's gonna go. I just hope that they have better writers and a better way of storytelling and have different voice actors. That'd be great. Um, but I guess what I would want to see in the sequel, it's honestly kind of simple for me. Just make it more linear with very like environments. Have the like kind of decide on how you want to do the combat. Do you want it to be Sekiro-ish, or do you want it to be like a hack and slash?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if they were to do this mixture of combat again, of having both, uh, make it well. Okay, so one of the games I played earlier this year was Hi-Fi Rush, and it's a very like linear game. You just kind of go in, do like the levels, go to the specific stages where you fight enemies and stuff. If they were to do a Stellar Blade 2 and they make it like more linear, I kind of want it to be in kind of that direction where you're just kind of like dropped in. Here's a bunch of mobs you gotta defeat real quick, and then that way they can still have that flashy hack and slash combat that they want to have. And whenever you get to the bosses, you can have that be like the more like Sekiro, Dark Souls, more methodical combat, and I think that would be pretty cool. And have like the combos actually have a bit of like I guess meaning because there isn't really much of outside of like stat boosts. There isn't really much of a incentive to do like all the complicated combos. To be honest with you,
Yeah, I
in
kind of
Hi-Fi
agree.
Rush, in Hi-Fi Rush, like there's a bit of gameplay incentive to do different ones. Like, oh, you're about to get hit, well, and you're in the middle of a combo, well, you can click the triangle button. You can kind of launch them up in the air, so you can avoid getting hit while still being able to dish out your combo. Or like if you're about to get hit, and you want to like be more safer and dodge. You can like finish off the combo with a screen clearing type of move, and I feel like that's kind of the combat direction I kind of want to see if they were to make a sequel game. um, and they wanted to keep the combo system as is because as of now, there really isn't much of an incentive to actually try out all the combos in your arsenal. Like, why should I not do the whole 3-hit square and double triangle combo if I don't really get much of it? And the thing is too is that they kind of have a bit of an idea of doing it too, where the last hit you can like hold down the button and do
Yeah.
like a more charge hit. You can make that be like I don't know, have like more stunning capabilities or does like more shield damage or something like that. I think
Yeah.
that I think that's what if they were to keep it as is, that's kind of the direction I would like for them to go in.
Yeah, for me, I already said I think that they should just get rid of the open world altogether. Like I know they want this to kind of be an RPG as well. So, I mean, as for side quests to do that, honestly, they can just make you revisit the previous levels, just let you see the map, and then fast travel, and then open up a new location within that same level. And then it'd be a more interesting reason to go back to the same levels as opposed to just doing it
Mm-hmm.
again for no reason. Um, and also, I mean, I somewhat agree when it comes to the combat. I think that they're probably going to keep it largely the same because, like, I think that's like I haven't really looked at reviews for this game too much, but I think the general consensus is that the combat is the best part of it. So I think the only thing that they'd probably do is just kind of really give you more types of burst skills or something like that. But I kind of agree. I do think that like the more Dark Souls approach to a boss versus like the on the map type of combat where you're just fighting enemies would be better, or maybe just make it to where the enemies have less health so that you can kind of go through them fast. Because sometimes there are
Yes.
some enemies where it feels like you're kind of wailing on them for a while. And I mean, dude, by the end of that game, I had maximum damage on my sword. I had like a bunch of good, like I had good sets of skills and stuff like that. Like all my skill tree was almost maxed out and stuff. What I'm trying to say is I was definitely not underpowered at the end of the game. But there are just some enemies where it's like they're alive. Like I've been hitting you for like 30 seconds. You should be dead now. Like I'm trying to move forward. I think the like levels take longer than they need to because some of the enemies are just way too tanky.
Yeah, and that's that like Dark Souls influence right there.
Yeah.
Because in Dark Souls, you just the
Well, I mean
enemies like
that's not even really true because enemies in the like world in Dark Souls don't really have a lot of health. Like you can definitely take out an enemy like in a couple of hits. It's just
okay,
you have to like move around them and they hit you with a lot of damage as well. But with this game, they're not
yeah,
necessarily like crapping damage all the time. They just have a lot of health, and it just became annoying. But also, I think
yeah,
from a narrative standpoint, man, like I honestly this game is a little hard to take serious, especially with like some of the voice acting, some of the designs. You've got boobs all over your face. like I think this
oh yeah,
game would benefit greatly from like a reduced tone. Like I would be perfectly fine with the story in Stellar Blade 2 being a little bit more ridiculous. Like having more cool anime moments where you've got set pieces going on and, you know, Eve is doing one-liners for some reason like cuz I just think like the characters are so plain and if we're not going to sharpen up the character writing, then at least make them like funny or cool like to look at.
yeah,
Like I don't
yeah,
know. I just think like Devil May Cry. I don't think anybody's gonna tell you Devil May Cry series has like this amazing story or anything. Like it's good. It's definitely better than like some stuff. I think it's better than Bayonetta's story, honestly. But like even if you want to turn your brain off with the story, you can like watch Dante do cool shit and have cool cutscenes and say funny or cool stuff. Like on top of a story that is pretty dark. I mean, like even in DMC5, the world's fucked, but I mean, you're
yeah,
the main characters aren't crying or something or not reacting to it at all, like Eve. I think like a tonal shift would be much appreciated, and if they're not gonna do that, then really sharpen up that writing, man. Like those, I want to like Eve. Like I think she's fine, but I'm not really attached to Eve. If Eve died at the end of Stellar Blade 1 and we had to play as someone else, I wouldn't care. Like, I would be perfectly fine with
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I think really just sharpen up that writing. And I mean, they can't really copy Nier anymore with a second game unless they somehow want to copy the first Nier game, which I don't know how you would do that. But yeah, really, I mean, now the second game is really where they have to be themselves. They can't really wear their inspirations on their sleeves as much. They have to really focus
Yeah.
on something that, like a story they want to tell that's unique, and a game having a gameplay experience that they want to do that is more unique as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Make them characters instead of
yeah,
just
make them feel
uh,
like the human that they're supposed to be.
yeah, make them characters, make them human, not just like, all right, this moment happened, this specific plot time is happening now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, like I said, I liked this game. I think it obviously has a lot of problems, but I think like my impression after I finishing it is much more of a positive one than a negative. Well, what would you say yours is?
Yeah, even though I have a lot of dislikes of this game, I like again, I feel like it was like I finished the game. So if I didn't like it, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have finished it, right?
yeah, that's
So
true.
I I like the game, and I think it has like potential and has like a pretty good foundation that I really hope that if they were to do a sequel, that I feel like instead of me giving it like a six, and they fix all the issues I have with this game and the sequel, it would definitely be like an eight.
Yeah,
Like I really do think there is like a good foundation here, which I think is pretty big, a pretty big W in my opinion, because a lot of games that they may not even have a good foundation. Everything might be just messed up fundamentally, but this one does. So
that's
uh, I
true.
definitely think I definitely think if they were to do sequel, just kind of work out the kinks, and the kinks aren't even that crazy either. Like
Yeah,
story, the story, like that's fixable. You don't,
yeah,
especially since it's not like a new IP. You don't have to like work everything from scratch. Like you have something to base off of. It should be a little more easier for the story, and character writing kind of meshes in with the story and stuff. And voice acting, you can hire other people who are definitely way better. Um, yeah, uh,
yeah. I agree. I
yeah.
mean, I think one of the other things about that I think Stellar Blade really benefits from, and I think it's a reason why it's really resonated with a lot of people, is that it is kind of fresh. Like we don't really get a lot of single player action, simple, fun games like this anymore. Even though it does kind of fall into some of the trend hopping things like Dark Souls, kind of like a Souls like s combat system, and like having an
Mm,
open world in there. But it is still kind of a character action game, even though the character sucks. But it is still kind of similar to that, and it's like we don't really get a lot of games like Stellar Blade anymore. What was the last DMC 5? I keep bringing that game up, but like that game was a long time ago. It was successful, but for some reason
yeah,
Capcom won't make a new one. But yeah, that game was a long time ago. We haven't played anything like this in a while, so I think it fills a niche. And also, I mean, I'm not really like a like horny like oh yeah I want to see some hot babes when I'm playing a game or something like that. But I mean, I do think that like the aesthetic and Eve's design is, I mean, it's going to be appealing to people. Like, you don't really see like games like that too much anymore. Like I remember in PS3, PS2, you got stuff like that, like Lollipop Chainsaw, which is coming back, which is cool. But
Bayonetta.
yeah, or Bayonetta still. Like, there's, I think there's room to have these different characters look different ways and have these games kind of play differently. Like, too many games feel similar, especially in the AAA space. And
Yes, definitely.
I think that's why indies and single and double A are really on the rise now, because people are kind of tired of playing the same similar stuff. So I think this game deserves points for being unique. Like, is it gonna win any game of the year awards? Probably not. It'll probably win it for the
It might
music,
get
maybe.
nominated.
Yeah, I think it'll
Yeah,
probably be
for music.
nominated for
Yeah,
sure, but I don't think it's gonna. I think if it wins anything, it'll probably be for the music. I don't think it's gonna win for anything else.
yeah.
But yeah,
All right.
those are our thoughts on Stellar Blade. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye and good night.